So from reading a lot of the comments and just from looking around, it seems like what some of you guys may or may not know, there are a lot of people right now that are struggling financially. And I totally feel it right there. Obviously, because of a lot of the massive wave of the recent tech layoffs, on top of a lot of the stuff that's been happening with unemployment and Social Security, there's a lot of people that are now surviving off of low income. And I totally relate to that as well, because a huge reason why I even started this whole project in general was because I was also unemployed back several years ago when I, was getting into the flow of different things. And the big idea is that also for me, as someone who also happens to be a small business owner who works in a very, very cyclical industry, as some of you guys may or may not know, outside of this, I work in the events industry. So you can kind of imagine about how cyclical it is. But we go through a lot of phases where there are many times where we might actually be employed, but there's also just not a lot of business. So not a lot of money coming in. And in a way, it means that we might as well, even though we're employed technically by name, we might as well have been unemployed or be considered unemployed, because there's really just no physical business that's happening right now at this time during quiet season. But in today's video, regardless of that situation, what I really want to talk about is maybe some tips and tricks dedicated to anyone that might be either unemployed or on Social Security or working a job and maybe it's just not making as much money, how to survive and try to live the best life off of low income. So with that being said, let's just get this video started as the title suggests. But as always, real fast, before we begin, if you guys enjoy videos like this, remember to smash the like button if you guys want to, or you guys can decide, consider subscribing, hitting the bell, and feel free to comment any questions, personal thoughts about, or honestly just anything. So with that being said, let's get this video rolling and started. So if you're someone who's currently living off of a really, really low income, the first advice and tip I would say that really to look into is that you really have to try to get on almost every kind of government program that exists out there. Because chances are is that if you have very, very low income, you will probably qualify for the majority of it. So examples of this are such as like unemployment, Social Security. Most people that are watching this are already on either unemployment or Social Security. But I put it out there because there were a lot of people I know that were on unemployment, but just for reasons never bothered to apply for unemployment way back when the pandemic started, just for reasons because they didn't. And I'm talking about people I know in real life too. So not on the internet, but just in real life in general, because everyone in my industry, as most of you guys may or may not know, went unemployed during the pandemic. But the first one is really about just trying to get onto every single kind of government program that really exists out there. There's obviously, as mentioned, unemployment, there's Social Security, there's pandemic EBT, not even pandemic, just regular SNAP food stamps EBT right now at this time. Depending on where you live, there are also a lot of cities, I can say for certainly right here in New York City, they also do a lot of discount public transportation programs where you can ride the subway wherever you want around the city for only about $1.50 or under $1.50 even, if you wanted to potentially look into applying for that. There's obviously Medicare, Medicaid, all those kinds of healthcare programs. There's also, interestingly, some programs in order to even help pay for your housing and your electric bill. That one's not as common per se, but some cities I know even have something. I believe it's called the HEAP program, or the HEAP. I forgot what it stands for. It's something like heating, electric, something like that. But the idea is that these are just some ideas to really throw out there, how you can potentially look into saving money, and not just saving money, but helping if you are someone that's currently on low income, looking for some support to survive and get through. Now, the second strategy to be able to really live off of low income is that you're going to want to try to look into either doing or learning how to do, specifically how to cook. Because cooking is one of those big things that I think can save a lot of people money, especially because although prices of groceries right now are skyrocketing and very, very particularly expensive, one of the biggest things though is that in many cases, it is still relatively cheaper to feed yourself than what it would be eating out every single day. Especially if you do manage to get onto food stamps and SNAP EBT, you can even help use that to cover a lot of your grocery bills. And one of the nice things is that because of inflation, there are also a lot of cities and places that actually did boost up SNAP benefits, EBT, and everything in that world, so that now they're actually going to give you more money to adjust for the rising cost of food, goods, and expenses and everything like that. So I would say cooking is the first thing. This is obviously not a cooking channel, but there's also a lot of very inexpensive meals that you can make, such as like stir fry. You know, maybe we'll do a fun video where I don't know if we're gonna do that. That's just something that just to put out there, a funny idea. But yeah, because this is not a cooking channel at the end of the day. But there are very inexpensive and quick to make dishes that you can consider doing if you want to do that. Now, the next and third advice and tip is to really consider looking into volunteering. Volunteering is another really, really great way to kind of keep yourself busy, especially if you are unemployed. If you're someone that's currently going through unemployment, it might not be a bad idea to look into volunteering, because it can be a great way to kind of give yourself some experience. It can give you some routine. It can give you something to live, or not, I was going to say live for, but yeah, actually in a lot of ways, it's going to give you something to kind of wake up in the morning for, so that you can kind of keep yourself busy. And it's also really good experience. And also, because if you are someone that's currently on low income, many places that volunteer, depending on where you volunteer, might even give you basic necessities like free stuff, free goods, free food. I know there's many places that if you volunteer, they're going to give you free food as well for it. So a lot of just free stuff that you can potentially look into. And also many of the places that you do volunteer at, if you do look into volunteering, might also have their own free services that they might be providing, just for simply put, being there in general. So for example, again, if you work at a soup kitchen, if you volunteer at a soup kitchen, free food, free clothes, free food drives, free a lot of different things that are going on, which I think is a super, super cool thing. Now, the fourth tip and advice to really, really survive off of low income is a little bit more straightforward, but it's important to still mention is that when you're shopping and buying different things, don't necessarily do this for the sake of doing things, but if you know that there's a particular thing that you have to buy, consider just getting it used. That's one of the really, really great things about saving money or about getting used items, is that a lot of times you can actually find things that might be used, but the condition of the item is so close to being new that you're basically saving, you know, sometimes in many cases. So for example, like I bought a camera recently, you know, that was kind of open box. And so the big idea is that you can be saving a lot of money over time just by getting things that are used, even if they might even be things that are, simply put, is that they're used. The only reason they're considered used is because somebody opened the box to use it once and then put it away and then resold it. These are things that you're basically getting in almost in like new condition, but you're saving hundreds of dollars potentially by doing that. And this is just an example. You know, you could do this with used books, used goods, used electronics, even used clothes. Used clothes, I know there's a little bit of a, you know, a gray area with used clothes, but that's even a potential option as well. But these are just a couple of ideas. And then I would say the last and final advice and tip is really something to just for the fun of it, but it is very, very important for the sake of our physical and mental health. But it's really to look in to just trying to see ways to have free entertainment. So depending on where you're located, I know for a fact, for example, in New York City, right here, and I know a lot of major cities do this, they do a lot of free entertainment programs that are out there. For example, you can potentially get a library card, which is free in many, many cities and places, to kind of rent out movies, books, but we're talking about even things like shows. You know, if you're in New York City, for example, during the summertime, I know, for example, they do a lot of free entertainment where you can they do like things such as like movie screenings, free concerts, free screenings, free events, free parties, free, you know, different things. And obviously if you're, you know, going through a time of a lot of need, you probably are trying to, you know, get through and focus on that first. But at the end of the day, I think just as humans and people, we still need to find ways to keep ourselves busy and kind of enjoy life a little bit, you know, because what's to life if, you know, every day all we're doing is just working and we're not enjoying ourselves, right? And I think that that's one of the biggest things is that entertainment is something that some people spend a lot of money on, but it doesn't have to be so expensive. And I know during times when I was going through a lot of financial tightness, that's what I really relied on for sanity reasons and for mental health, and actually physical and mental health, to keep myself going outside and active socially and just mentally and physically and just in every definition of the word, active outside again. But of course, these are just several tips that I really just wanted to share for anyone that might be out there, that hopefully it's going to help if you guys are currently going through, you know, kind of like survival mode right now. So with that being said, if you guys made it to the end, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, remember to smash the like button, subscribe, hit the bell, consider commenting, or feel free to comment in any questions, thoughts about anything. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, stay safe, stay well, stay employed, or at least try to stay thriving, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.